Okay, so Mr. Zilli said in our comments we weren't supposed to say, like, I liked your poem, because that's kind of like a cop-out, but I really like your poetry.
What do you do when you get stuck, like if you get writer's block? Or do you ever?
Oh, yeah. Right? Anybody who wants to say something and is not ready, right? It's the 5-year-old frustration phenomenon. Like, I really have something to say, and I do not have the tools to communicate it right now. So, my advice for writer's block is get out of your head, get into your body. During these 3 days when I was in a cloudy distraction, right, which is not great for writing, I went out for a barefoot walk at 11:30 at night and found a tree that looked really lonely and just, like, hugged it for a while. And I know that sounds, yeah, okay, but you know, there's a book that came out called The Secret Lives of Trees, and they communicate, they respond to threats, they rear their young. Trees need love too. All you vegetarians out there, remember that. I don't eat spinach because I don't want to kill things. You kill the spinach. I'm just saying. But yeah, so no, like go out, make contact, be with the world. That centering, right? That time where you fall into silence and just work. You listen to your breath. You realize that you are this miraculous pulsing thing. Do you all ever just like take a break and trip out about the fact that get into that for a while and your writer's block will disappear.
In a lot of your poems, you have very interesting visual shape. There's one that's completely like shaped like a tree, that's about trees. There's some other ones where you have either interwoven lines or stanzas that kind of is off to the other side, and then there's another one. And what's your thought process in how you design the poem visually?
So sometimes I put in shapes because I think those shapes communicate in a synesthetic way. This idea, this stanza, what is the shape of that stanza? What is that idea's shape? Other times it's like musical notation, because I know that if I do something like this and then jump over here, you have to take a break to jump over, or you have to slow yourself down if you want to read that as one line. So I can control, to a certain extent, the way people read my poetry.
So in your in this last note of the lecture, you have so in your last couple of lines, you have some really small font. So does that play into the same role that the capitalization plays?
You remember what the words are, right?
Do you understand this?
Right, but the small words at the end are all caps and smaller than the rest of the font. That you're feeling small and somewhat lost, and so you scream your teachings. The idea behind that is that this person is getting, that all the capitals you see, all the loud, in-your-face, aggressive stuff is coming from a place of insecurity, right? Small, lost, scream. So that's why those were small.
I don't know. I don't really know what I'm asking. I just like poetry and write it, so what would you have advice for that?
Everybody is a mirror, including yourself. So bounce your poems off mirrors. Read them out loud and hear how stupid some of your lines sound, how clunky they sound. Read them out loud to yourself. Read them to other people. Give them to other people and watch them reading your poems. Ask them if they would read a passage out loud and see if it sounds the way you imagined it sounding. Test your poetry. Judge your poetry. Don't judge anyone else, but be your harshest critic. I think that's the surest way to improving whatever it is in life.
So, what's your favorite type of media to consume when you read your books?
Music, Simon and Garfunkel. Lyrics are really important to me. That ruins a lot of music for me. Clubs are hellish for me. Walking is like, shots, 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 everybody! You know, I was like, ah, no, Jesus, I'm out, bye. Oh, couldn't you have at least listed 3 types of shots? Did you just say it over and over again? And then I like reading popular summaries of science findings because they blow my mind. Check this out. There was a group that went on a fossil finding expedition, and they found the tracks of the first things in the world to move. So as we were coming out and becoming clumps of bacteria, at some point, one of those clumps of bacteria pulled into itself, extended forward, and pulled back again. And it was the first time something had moved. And their tracks are captured in stone. And they went and looked at these, and this guy's there with these scientists, and he asked, well, what do they look like? And they described them, and he said, what? Wait, so these things are like giant, fleshy leaves and plants? Do you understand how mind-blowing this is to me as somebody who has like had a vegetarian sister? That like, the first mobile life was a fleshy, moving plant. There is no dividing line between animals and plants. We make that shit up. We pretend that somehow fish are more valuable than trees, but why? Because fish are more like us. They have eyeballs. We are egotistical assholes. And we eat things that don't look like us because that's somehow more okay, because they're not as worthy of their lives. But life is life. So that article about the idiot Karens blew my mind. So those are the kind of things I like to read, like grist for thought.
I don't really know how to like phrase this question.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together.
I'm having like the 5th grade thing. So I guess my question is just like humor ? Because I feel like most people who are first trying to get out in the creative path are trying to be like very thinky and are very isolated and trying to be like serious.
Serious, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I wish I were funnier. I think the Dalai Lama is hilarious. That's sort of my bar. It's like spontaneously laughing at things and making other people laugh because they're happy. That would be great. I think humor is a really important educational tool. I think it's a really important test of the synchrony between you and your audience. Like if you can make somebody laugh, it shows that you're on the same page and you're doing things intentionally and they're working as intended. You can be serious, and then if somebody doesn't get your idea, you're like, oh, I'm too good for you, blah, 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 blah. But if you make a joke and no one laughs at it, you can't say, well, that's because I'm too funny. No, it's like, no, it's because your joke sucked. Yeah.
Are you okay, it's about death. Like, are you religious? Like, what do you believe happens after death? I don't know. Because your mind is very unique, and I just want to know, like, what you think about that.
I think about that the same way I think about vegetarianism. That these dividing lines that people put between life and death and between me and you are to a certain extent fictitious. Now, of course, if I go like that, I didn't feel that, you felt that, right? But that's just because you happen to be the collection of nerves that are next to me. That doesn't mean that we aren't sharing the same air, right? That's what my poem is about. You are the water you drink, you are the tears you cry. And at some point I'm drinking whatever you're giving off. We share everything. And when you think about that, then what is death? It's the dissolution of the current collection of elements that you are, and you're passing them on to other things. It's your final donation, right? So yeah, and like people are like, but what happens to yourself? What happens to your thoughts? What happens? Well, tell me any thought that you've ever had that is external to your senses. Right? Tell me about love without telling me about how it makes you feel. Like the weight of the world is lifted off of you and your lungs are in free fall. Right? You can't. Tell me about hate without talking about rising blood pressure and the narrowing of focus. You can't. Everything is bounded by our physical experiences. So when your body goes, everything goes. And that's something to make peace with. And I think the fact that it's a donation makes me more happy about letting it go. Because I've seen some pretty cool earthworms in my day. I've never seen an earthworm who says, as our current president said, oh, nature's great, we can leave a little bit of it. But no, earthworms just drill in the ground, they know their place, and they do good things. And if I can be fuel for an earthworm, I'm all right with that being my final legacy. Hi.
What's your spirit animal?
I've been told pit bull.
I don't know if I see that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe we should open this up. What is my spirit animal?
Some type of bird. Like a falcon, like a lab.
Yeah. I was just gonna go with some sort of puppy.
Okay.
Something super playful and vibrant.
Maybe like with the pulls of jetpack.
Why do I have to? I mean, I'm not going to challenge the fact that I would love to fly, but why am I flying?
I think like flight is associated with like freedom, or like I just like going with the flow in a way.
I think this may have to do with the fact that you all haven't found the joy of the ground yet. You all need to take your shoes off. It's like me.
Spend the day with no shoes.
Yeah, no, seriously, if you did, I think you'd find yourself not wanting to fly anymore. Other questions?
Did you write that on the board, or was that Mr. Zio?
I did. No, that's a quote. That's a quote from Mr. Zioli about the nature of that board. And I thought that would be a good illustration of like what poetry's all about, right? It's like taking something and essentializing it in your description. He looked at this board and in a moment of like emotional clarity, he was just like, small, intrusive, ugly. Like, and that's beautiful. Like you've got a poet teaching your class. I hope you appreciate what you're Okay, so we're rounding the last couple minutes of our time together. I am a 33-year-old, and you are young high schoolers who I was 12 or 13 years ago. Is there anything you want to know about what's going to be happening to you in the next 13 years? Hit me.
You seem very content with yourself. What has been the most important thing in like achieving that state?
Recognize that hatred and bitterness and all of those other negative emotions are not laser beams. They are atom bombs. You think you can be angry at another person without being angry at yourself. That is bullshit. You think you can hate one person and love another person. That is bullshit. If you build love, you will have love. If you build peace, you will have peace. If you build complaints and excuses, your mind will be filled with complaints and excuses, and it will make your life sad. Find the connection that you have with the people that irritate you. Find the connection you have with your sandwich. Find the connection that you have with tables. The fact that this used to be in the ground, in a mountain, on a tree somewhere. Appreciate everything that is around you and has been brought, and realize that you owe nothing. You deserve nothing, right? That was in my balance poem. You are imagining you owe. You are dreaming you deserve. We are here, and that's like a small miracle. And if you just keep your mind on that, you will start feeling very peaceful, because there's no pressure on you. If you just sit there in that chair and don't hurt people, you're doing all right, right? Leave things as good as you found it. Everything else is extra credit. It's one of my life principles.